Brother, are you all right?
No, I am not all right. I just shared a bottle of Kanar with Damar. That rhymes.
You're drunk.
Of course I'm drunk.
The weapons
Yeah.
thing, or
No,
something
no, no,
else?
no, no, no. This is another product that was mentioned that he had a difficult time wanting to listen to. So he made a demand for a video from Leon, and Leon, once he had the opportunity, because he finally got his hands on the product, he made the video, and it's been oddly silent ever since. And welcome, good evening, afternoon, and morning, everyone out there. And no, you're not seeing things. Furball is playing with himself to start the stream.
It's the best way to start the evening.
Well, at least it's that type of playing with yourself, which is actually rather fitting for which stream this is. But, okay, so people can't see what project it is you're working on. They're just seeing you play with the greatest building block toys ever created. Would you care to let everyone know which model it is that you're putting together?
This would be the Shuttle Discovery and the Hubble Space Telescope. The first three packages are just the Hubble, and this is a much bigger project that will not be completed tonight because this is a big box. This is... how many pieces is this? And don't worry, yes, it's a big box, but I've got the equipment to fill it.
Or so you've been told.
She's kind to my ego. 2,354 pieces.
That actually is a pretty sizable thing. But what's actually nice is it's not just the shuttle. They actually give you a payload to carry along with it.
Yeah, and it will fit inside. Okay, let me switch cameras for a second. So that was 2,300 and some. How do I switch cameras?
It's been so long, he's forgotten how to use meets.
No shit. It seriously has been that long. Okay.
Well, and plus he is on a Mac.
Fuck you. All right, in the background, that big guy.
Oh, the Saturn
Do
V.
do you know how many pieces are in the Saturn V?
Is that like 4,000 something?
Use your smarts. It's an arbitrary number. A specifically arbitrary number. Not arbitrary.
It's a rather relevant number. Wasn't it the same number of
it?
pieces as major assemblies for it, too?
That contains 1,969 pieces.
Yeah.
1969. So this guy is 2,354.
Wait, the space shuttle is still going to be in use in the 24th century?
Well, another kind
It's a
of
shuttlecraft at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it will finally live up to its name. And Dora does have a good question.
Oh.
Who is this furball person?
Dora, I am sorry. Life has been insane for the past 4 months with
It's because you
personal
work
stuff.
for Biden.
It was insane before the administration changed. Trust me. Now it's just picking back up. But personal stuff, family stuff. Now I'm a geo batch for the next month and a half. I have no dogs. I have 2 cats that hate me, the Sneck and a chameleon.
Oh, that's right. You guys did get the chameleon just a little bit ago.
Well, we've had that for a while.
Relatively
that's my
speaking.
Yeah, it's my daughters. And they, for some reason, didn't want to take the chameleon home with them. So I get to get stuck with the damn thing.
It's see, that's the thing. You get home after being overseas for a while, and it's like, okay, now we're going out. You get the animals. Like, what the fuck?
Yep.
Don't you love how that works? But for those who are actually paying attention to the title and thumbnail, this I will admit, I did kind of spring this on the rest of the panel a little unexpectedly earlier today when I made the thumbnail, because we were just going to have it be a free-for-all, talk about whatever, seeing as how someone has missed a lot of the topical discussions.
Sorry.
But then, as I was looking for something to put in the thumbnail for a free-for-all, a battle royale came to mind. So, it being a general sci-fi week, let's just go ahead and do a rehash of this discussion. Any space-faring, sci-fi-esque military force, not just army, not just navy, entire military force, you put all of them in a region and have them just go all out at each other. Who wins?
So now, my question, before I use the wrong piece, it has to be a formal military force, I'm guessing. Is that what we're saying?
They don't have to be a declarative military, but as long as they are what would classify as a traditional military force in that projection of power, defense, expansion, some sort of fighting element of a species or body politic.
Okay, how about something that may not be a aggressive force of a specific species or politic or group, but something that is confronted by a formal military?
Do they have the means to fight back and carry the fight forward as need be?
Yes.
Then that group would classify as a combatant.
I give you the winner.
Ooh. But they can only move when unobserved.
True, but they can still advance forward, and they have the ability to manipulate power, to manipulate lighting, so that they can put you in the dark and not see them. And the only person, species, group, organization that has ever been able to stop them is the Doctor. I put an army of weeping angels against your Daleks.
Oh yeah, definitely the weeping angels over the Daleks. I can definitely side with you on that one, but we're going entirety of sci-fi.
Okay.
So,
continue. I'm refreshing my drink.
Yeah, the weeping angels could be formidable, but I think that they would have to work in conjunction with another force. Because how well do you think one of those would stand up to a bolt round?
Perfectly fine, because you'd be observing it, and at that point, it would be frozen in time.
It would be
it wouldn't damage it.
Oh, you remember what a bolt round does, right? Oh, okay. So you know that grenade launcher that gets underslung on an M4 or an M16? Now imagine that high explosive round that you can use in that being rocket propelled and then fired like a regular round.
The one thing that had never been answered in Doctor Who lore was how strong the solidified angels were. Are they just standard concrete that you could be chipped away at? Or are they something stronger, something more formidable? So that's an unanswered question. And Demonic Davros has a good point. Detonate the reality bomb. Davros is forever.
He does have a point there. But when it comes to the Weeping Angels, keep in mind, if observed long enough to where they stay in the statue state, they wither and decay just like any stone statue.
Is there evidence of that from who?
Angels Take Manhattan.
Which part?
Towards the end, when
Oh,
when talking about all the different statues, and they're not
Yeah.
gargoyles.
okay.
So they are vulnerable in that state.
I forgot about that. That's one of my. I know I've said this before on multiple different shows. Is that series of Doctor Who, beginning to end, Amy and Rory, that is, I love that. That is the greatest, and I'd forgotten about that at the end of Weeping Angel or Angels Take Manhattan, that the statues had been degrading.
Yep. So while they would be a formidable force, I could see them being an effective scout force. But they themselves, they're not going to last.
Okay. One up me. I will keep my Weeping Angel off to the side here.
See, and that's where I say they would fall prey to something even as, if you want to call them basic, an Astartes Legion or chapter from Warhammer, simply because they are using, as a regular round, a high explosive rocket propelled grenade.
See, now I'm at a disadvantage here. I do not know Warhammer.
But I wouldn't even consider them, the Warhammer, well, the Empire of Man from Warhammer, as being a top contender for surviving the entirety of it. Because they're kind of limited and based. They don't... Their technology, while advanced in some areas, are lacking in others. I don't see them withstanding more energy-based weapons as well. Even with their void shields. Interesting thing with those is they do shunt energy, but to the parallel dimension that is the immaterium. But if you overload it, the shield generators explode because they can't handle the amount of energy there. So I could see something like a more traditional Star Wars or Star Trek faction being able to take them out just by using their own technology against them in a way.
I was going to say, wouldn't the era of the Clone Wars stormtroopers, not the ones that we see in episodes 4, 5, and 6.
You mean the ones that can actually shoot?
Yeah, I was going to say those ones could take out even probably the Weeping Angels, because there's enough of them to monitor, so to speak. And they don't rely on technology per se. But even they would lose to something like the Daleks. And
would the Weeping Angels have the ability to control the power of energy weapons? Do you think?
They manipulate fields, not so much manipulate the actual control-wise. So that's where the Weeping Angels would have an interesting interplay with energy-based weapons, which is where I say their bane. What would really screw them over are actually your kinetic and thermal weapons. Because when they are quantum locked because they are being observed, they're stone. So as long as you can destroy the stone and turn it to rubble, you've taken them out. So that's where you're going to end up needing not just the technological or physical might, you're going to need the intellect to pick and choose your battles, especially early on. And this is where Empire of Man is out, because they are notorious for mismanagement of resources and handling and reacting to things. Granted,
Shut up, Mark.
At the same time, I would I would say even Starfleet would have a problem, because they would get their ass kicked so thoroughly at the outset, they might persist and would have to play the long game of survival. Because they are slow to react when things get violent.
Yeah. I would suggest that the Enterprise era Makos could maybe make a run for it, but again, them and the clone troopers would make it probably halfway through this battle royale and then be toast.
All right, I've got another entry from far left field. May not necessarily be a traditional armed force, but you have seen them fight in mass, in coordination, in group, and they are part of an official hierarchy government. The Council of Ricks.
That would be an interesting one, because if the Ricks actually all pulled together...
And they do. They do.
They are a front runner.
When they're going after 137, they are together. 137 just kicks their ass.
Yeah. But imagine if, as that's going on, they get pulled into this, and they realize, oh shit, we need 137, and he ends up being the leadership mind.
Yeah.
The Council of Ricks would be in my top 5 for surviving at that point.
If 137 was actually in charge of the Council of Ricks and they listened to him, yes, they hands down win. The problem would be that 137 is not going to abide by that, and he's probably going to turn his guns on the rest of his own kind and run away and get drunk somewhere.
True. There is that wild card. But self-preservation is a bitch, and even 137 still has enough of that base Rick in them to realize, okay, I need to suck it up this time.
Or he recognizes, y'all are fucked. I'm done.
True.
Is the ultimate question would be, I guess I should watch Rick and Morty. Yes, you should. I've burned through seasons 1, 2, and half of 3 today. I would say that the end question for 137 is, what is his goal? If whatever the Council of Ricks is actually fighting for aligns with his goals, he will fight with them. But if his goals do not align with theirs, he will manipulate them until he can get what he wants, then murder everyone and run away.
And be gone. Yeah. Well, and that's where you have your initial base level survival, which things align, but then you don't think he would look at it and be like, and realize that, hey, I get these guys to do all the heavy lifting, really put them in direct harm's way initially. There's a chance we could win this, and then I can just wipe them out after.
Does he want them to win to begin with? Or does he want to bait them into a fight so that they get slaughtered?
There is that wild card too, which is where you then have some of the other factions come in. How would the Council of Ricks fare against a culmination of the entirety of the Borg? Or the replicators from Stargate?
Yeah. The Borg are a strong contender. They have been defeated, but they are a very strong contender.
Because they do end up always coming back, and they have that ability to learn through assimilation. So, Leon, where are you looking at in all of this? Because there's another group that we haven't mentioned yet that I think has a chance to at least make it through the first few waves, simply because they are bullheaded assholes that don't give up.
I'm not quite thinking about those. Actually, the thing that I'm thinking about here that could quite probably actually make a difference is the mobile infantry from the Starship Troopers book.
That's who I was thinking.
I almost thought you were thinking the orcs, because those are, well...
Ooh.
all headed to a fucking fault. We can't really get rid of them.
No,
But
no,
mobile infantry.
no, I'm not talking about the greenskins yet, but they could be. Oh God, imagine a Borgified orc.
I don't think that would work. I don't think that orcs would believe that that could happen, and therefore it wouldn't. But with the mobile infantry, they have miniature nukes that they use as grenades.
Mm-hmm.
They could quite, well, I would say that they could quite, not easily perchance, but they could quite readily deal with a platoon of Space Marines from Warhammer, simply due to jumping around like motherfuckers, being able to drop nukes on them, and just having the kind of weaponry that the Space Marines would not actually expect.
Yeah, and see, that's where the Space Marines do have their initial allure simply because of how they've been played up, especially with the Primaris Marines right now. But even they get held in check by the Orc. Now you throw something like the mobile infantry with fleet support at them. I don't see the Space Marines holding up against the MI in that case because of how pig-headedly stubborn the leadership of the Terrans are in that facet of sci-fi. When they set their mind to something, they don't give up. They may change tactic. They may realize, okay, this isn't working for us. Let's go about it a different way. But they don't stop.
Now, also something that, let's be honest, Warhammer doesn't do this, but they care about their people. They might be arseholes. They might let someone, lose an arm or both legs and the other arm and most of their intestines, but they still care about their people. They care about the people fighting for them. With everything in regards to Space Marines, etc., sure, you have some level of care, but you don't have the actual, we want these people to survive no matter what. We want these people to actually be able to fight again. If a Space Marine is too injured, either he gets grounded the Emperor's Mercy, which is essentially just a captive bolt gun right his fucking forehead, or he gets put in a walking sarcophagus. The dreadnoughts. He doesn't really. They don't have the okay. Shit, yeah, we need you to keep fighting. We need you to keep doing this. Because they just have so fucking many people. They don't really care that much about Space Marine. 15 Space Marines can be lost in battle, and sure, it's a great loss, but they knew what they were getting into. Yeah, I feel like it would be really uneven with how they see the troops.
Well, and I think that's what makes this topic really more of the interesting one, because of the nuance of just the psychology of the different factors playing into it. So that's where I could see some factions not being able to hold out simply because of technological reasons or mentality. That's why I don't see the Federation from Star Trek lasting for the entirety of it, because of the psychology of Starfleet. Yeah, if they're able to slink away after the first heavy losses to reevaluate and redesign and catch up from an intellectual standpoint, then Starfleet has a chance. But if they don't have that time to run away and adjust, they're done.
Do you see Starfleet, though, as having the ability to recognize a virtually no-win situation, a literal almost Kobayashi Maru, and adjusting their morals?
Some of it, and this is where it depends, because if you have a good enough amount of commanders like Cisco,
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, I could see them doing it. But the critical bit is they need the time to be able to make that shift and still have a fighting chance at survival. Because I could see them coming to that decision, but the question is, will it be too late?
So, also from Star Trek, what about species 8472? They don't require oxygen. They don't need an atmosphere for survival. Can walk without the aid of gravity. Be able to cling through to surfaces as well as rip apart bulkheads with ease.
Flamers.
Yeah, that they remind me a bit too much of the Tyranids, which, while the Tyranids are imposing on everything, they can be stopped by the Space Marines. I mean, hell, they can be stopped by the Imperial Guard if there's enough of them. Although it would be interesting to see a Hive fleet and 8472 meet up and bring... And again, psychology. Do they then team up?
But do you consider 8472 an actual military force or an organized force by a overarching backing?
So not just looking military forces, it's a combat force that has been there. And that's where they would classify, because keep in mind, the Borg and 8472 were in an all-out war.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the Borg were losing that war quite handily. It wasn't until Janeway and the biomolecular warhead was designed. And basically the 8472 is like, oh, the Borg are nothing. These humans are what was the difference. Let's go after them.
Yep. So now, would you see them teaming up with the Tyranids even for a short time? If that happens, yeah, there could be something said there, because while you have that added intellect, and that's the thing, is it basically comes down to which group would be the most well-rounded, that has enough of the intellect, both strategic and technological as needed, to adapt and adjust and tailor the tactics to the enemy they're fighting. The technology, the means of warfare itself that they would be partaking in, and also population recovery. Because let's give it this. Let's give each of them the ability to replenish their sources within universe time frames. So the Borg, to replenish their numbers, they just need to find someone to assimilate. As long as there is one Borg left alive and functioning, they have the potential to repopulate and keep fighting.
They have the potential to completely reestablish a brand new fighting force.
Exactly. So you have those tactics to keep in mind as well. And that's another reason why I'm less on the side of the Space Marines or Starfleet, because their replenishment means are slow as shit by comparison to others. And that's actually where I would give the Old Republic era stormtroopers and that era of fighting force from Star Wars a leg up over someone like Starfleet here, because they had the means to create and maintain a large fighting force for a long amount of time, despite the heavy losses that they took, and despite the decisions that some of the generals, some of the Jedi made, where they quite frankly didn't give a shit on whether or not the clone troopers survived the engagement. See, I see that being the biggest downfall for actually that era, is actually the arrogance of some of the commanders. The arrogance of some of the Jedi. I see that going against them in this sort of situation.
We have an issue here, though, because even during during the Galactic Republic and the clones that they had there, that took a good while to actually get them, well, mature, to get them out into the fight. It took, I can't remember, I think it took months or even years just to get them to the point
Yeah,
where they could actually.
It took about 5 years to get them to a point where they could be tested to see if they're ready for combat efficiency to go out into the field. That doesn't even count for the fact that they would still have to learn their command skills and things like that, which takes time. So
Yeah. Which, looking at that though, you have the Sparty cylinders. They were in work somewhere before the Galactic Civil War, and then they started really coming into it during the Throne campaign. They could get a clone up and running within a year. As in, the clone could be fully matured within weeks rather than years. And then just a training on top of that. That could be used way more. And in that case, you could have something more working like Krieg, but on steroids. Just pumping in troops wherever you need them. Even if you're fighting something like the Borg, sure, they can try to take over some people. It doesn't really help if you have 1,000 more people with flashlights behind them.
Yeah, there is
what do you think though about the pre-Bane Sith?
no, there's. Are we talking about the Brotherhood or pre-Brotherhood as well?
Well, back during the literal armies and fleets of Sith before the rule of two.
I understand what you're saying, but they still had general rule of two mentality, because usually you have a Sith master and an apprentice, and they would have a host of other acolytes underneath them and stuff like that. But when the Brotherhood came along, if you've read the Bane trilogy books, they did away with even all of that. You didn't have acolytes. You just they all trained like Jedi at that point, basically.
Mm-hmm. It was just armies of Sith.
Yeah, so there wasn't really. I wouldn't go so far as to say the Brotherhood era Sith would do well at all. They pretty much lacked leadership. Period.
It would have just been skillful in numbers.
Exactly. If you're talking more along the lines of the Old Republic video game or Knights of the Old Republic video game era Sith, you might have a chance because you actually had dedicated leaders working with each other to come to a combined goal. But eventually they would self-destruct. So, I mean,
that is the problem with the Sith. And this is where you got to take that psychological side into account, too. You got to look at the entirety of the potential faction, because they can be their own worst enemy just by the way they are. And that's
kind of like with the Council of Rick.
Yeah. If that,
everyone is still an individual, regardless of how much they're working together. They are all still very individualistic.
Yeah. So if one of them decides to torpedo it and does it in such a way, it doesn't care how good they are or how overpowered of a faction they are.
All it takes is one Bane to literally remove every other Sith from the universe.
Or just one Rick.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, come on now. The thought bomb, only did a little bit of damage.
Slight.
I know
if you were alive on a planet one moment, then the next moment you weren't.
You ripped into basically a black hole of the Force, but minor details.
Now, there's one thing too to remember when it comes to the whole Rick thing. With the Ricks, they would have to find, let's say, slightly less clever Ricks all the time in order to bolster their forces.
That is true. Yeah, if they didn't do that, then you would have the infighting Ricks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they
There's
just
no
tear
such
themselves apart.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a pawn Rick, other than the one that kept getting made fun of.
No, yeah, I was gonna say there was one, and they might as well have called him Jerry.
Yep.
Yes, Icarus, you have it right. Rodent, no last name for 5 US. Oops. Did I stumble in here? What universe are we discussing? All of them.
All of them.
Mark Pfizer also responds with yes. Another apt answer.
It's the question of you throw all the fighting forces from all sci-fi against each other in a free-for-all. Who wins? Actually, you know what?
I don't even know if we've gotten around past the first round yet.
Oh, no. And that's the thing is, oof. See, I'm also looking at this with a political slant to it, because how many are going to try to wheel and deal and create partnerships with the other combatants to bolster themselves and then be out of the game and then turn on each other later?
You mean all of like the Hunger Games?
Yeah. And that's where I just keep finding reasons that the Empire of Man from Warhammer would not be the last one standing, because they would not deal with any Xenos or Xenos-loving filth. They would see him as heretics, so they would automatically isolate themselves and put themselves at a disadvantage against the other factions that would, in the short term, be willing to work with another for the good of taking out that asshole over there.
Nikki, we don't talk about the Deep Space Nine knockoff.
Yeah, but even then, I don't see the Shadow being that much of a glaring threat in this scenario, because let's look at it this way. The Shadow ended up being the threat that they were because of how unknown it was. But once they became known, and once the factions that initiated the series came to understand them, they became a known entity, so a lot of the fear factor went away. Similar to the Borg, the more that we ended up learning about and understanding the Borg, yes, they were still a competent enemy, but they weren't as feared.
I was actually going to compare them to the Dominion and specifically the Jem'Hadar. Once in Deep Space Nine, you learned about what the Jem'Hadar were and how they would rely on the Ketcher Cell White, it made it easier for them to fight off the Jem'Hadar.
Yeah. Well, although
that's why I haven't brought them up as a fighting force. They would be out in the first round easy.
Yeah, they would be out early on. So there are two others that the chat has brought up that I find as interesting potentials. The first is the Silence.
Yeah, I was about to bring them up. Not to go back to Doctor Who again, but what about the Silence?
But the Silence must fall when the Doctor speaks his name.
But what if you don't have a doctor?
Well, and what about the Doctor? With what has been established in the legitimate canon. Okay.
Yes.
Elf, hands down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have not seen.
Yeah, I have not seen any evidence that Chewbacca has eaten any cats.
And we have nothing but evidence that Alf's diet is predominantly feline.
Yes.
Oh.
Always popular among the ladies.
But here's the question. So, not just the Doctor, but the totality of the Time Lords in general. Where would they end up standing? Because you do have that whole fuckery that would happen of the Doctor using all of his incarnations in one way or another before the series died, like he did to save Gallifrey. So you do, that would be an interesting one. And
because the Time Lords as a whole do not have, I would say that the Time Lords as a whole do not have the hang up that the Federation does of always do good. The Time Lords do not have that problem. They will fuck things up to save themselves.
as has been shown.
Yes. And primarily, response to that was the Doctor fucking them up. But the one moral character prevented all-out annihilation of the universe. I would say that the Time Lords as a whole are a very formidable foe. If you take away their morals, i.e. the Doctor.
Yeah.
So it's decided the Doctor wins hands down because he's the only one that would do what's best for everybody and destroy everybody else, along with himself at the same time.
Several times, actually.
That reminds me, I gotta find where they're streaming Doctor Who again so I can finish where I left off.
The only place right now for current Doctor Who is HBO Max.
Ooh, I have HBO Max.
Yep. Oh, yeah, this was like a year and a half ago. So before HBO Max even came out, Amazon Prime had lost their contract, and their contract expired at midnight on New Year's 2 years ago.
I remember we discussed that, and you were in the middle of an episode.
I was not in the middle of an episode. I was in the middle of a season, and the next day I come back and it's gone. But apparently there were people that were in the middle of episodes that just stopped playing. And HBO Max hadn't even been released yet. Wouldn't be for another 6 months. So for like 6 months, there was literally no place to watch Doctor Who.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I've actually been binging Justice League and Justice League Unlimited.
So the chat has brought up another faction that would be an interesting thought in all of this a couple times now. The Flood from Halo.
Never played Halo. Don't hate me.
Think more... They... Think Borg on steroids without the cybernetics.
Yeah.
Hive mind like?
Yes.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, do you know that clip of video that people joked was the true visual representation of Reds? And it was from a Halo game? That massive, ugly fucking monster?
Yep.
That's the Flood.
Okay. And Reds.
So, kind of going off topic here a little bit. What about the aliens from Independence Day? How do we think they would hold up?
Oh, they'd get fucked.
Yeah, 2 week. Same with the aliens from Mars in War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
Biologically inept. Humanity has a chance through all the different factions of possibly surviving, but not a good one. And yeah, you would have to abandon.
The only way The only way humanity is surviving is if we're pets.
No, I could see humanity winning, but it would take someone like the Doctor, and it would
You're saying humanity winning. That's not humanity winning. That's humanity being saved.
I said surviving, not win. Survive.
Okay. Again, I
like
think
it.
humanity's best chance at surviving is as pets.
I like Icarus's response. The Independence Day aliens die by a simple virus. They be COVID-19.
Yeah.
Are we talking, or rather, looking at all this here now, and I've been thinking quite a fair bit about this. What about humans from the dark age of technology?
They would have a chance because they had
Yeah.
no scruples about what they were doing.
Now, are you talking the Dark Ages with current technology?
No. The Dark Age of Technology is a segment of history from the Warhammer universe.
Okay.
Leon, go ahead and explain it for him so he can.
So, do you know how advanced Star Trek technology is to our technology today?
Mm-hmm.
Their technology makes Star Trek look like someone sitting in a cave and banging two rocks together.
Okay.
And they were so fucking technologically advanced that they managed to populate a galaxy. Well, most of the galaxy at least. They managed to do a fuck ton there. And it was only after the fall of that, well, what we now know to be the 41st millennium actually came to be, when the Emperor tried to reunite everyone after all the bullshittery had happened. They could essentially, well, as far as I know, they could essentially create solar systems. No issue. They could demolish stars and not give a flying fuck. They could harness stars and still not give a fuck. Anything like the Borg or whatever, it would be like a fly in the windscreen. Anything like the Tyranids, yeah, I mean, come on, throw them at us. We're going to throw them into the sun. They were amazingly fucking overpowered. And as far as I know, the only thing that really could get to them was chaos and the Men of Iron. Just overall, they were amazingly fucking overpowered. And I think they could actually, if chaos doesn't get involved, they could essentially win everything. Not just survive, but outright win.
See, and now you're actually getting to who I think would ultimately win.
Mr. Rogers in a bloodstained sweater?
It might as well, otherwise known as Zinch.
He always wins. Because he always says that he was the one who started.
Well, and that's the thing is, I see in all of this, if all of the factions open outright complete warfare, the group that I see actually winning would be Chaos. Would be the Chaos Gods from Warhammer. Because throughout all of the death and destruction and everything, you have Zinch growing stronger from all the different scheming and manipulations that the individual factions are going to be doing that just feed into him anyways with the way the Chaos Gods and the Immaterium work. And then you have all the bloodshed that's going on. Just think about the massive hard-on that someone would have from taking a fistful of Viagra, a butt ton of blow, and just having an all-out grand old time in Vegas. That ain't got shit compared to how hard-on Khorne is going to be with all the death and destruction that would be going on throughout this battle. So you have him going through that. And then you have all the biological factions that are doing their thing to wreak havoc on everyone else. Well, that's going to make Granddaddy Nurgle really fucking happy. And then you get the Dark Eldar involved. And their prince of, shall we say, perversion, Slaanesh, is going to have their own influence of and expansion of everything from just how a faction like the Reavers from Firefly are going to be going off on everyone they encounter. The Chaos Gods are the ones who are going to win it all.
So the Q.
I'd say the Chaos Guns are slightly worse.
Yeah. The Q have their limits. Otherwise, they would have never punished either version of Q that we met.
Okay, I have a new entrant. Odd, way right field, is not a evil species, is not a warlike species, but I believe has demonstrated the ability to fuck shit up on a planetary level. The Gorg.
Not familiar with them.
Yeah, you are.
Gorg?
They chased the Boov all the way to Earth.
For some reason, it's not coming to mind.
Oh, come on. From the movie Home?
Yes.
I have not seen that movie.
You have not seen that?
Oh, that is a decent, good movie.
It's an amazing family movie.
It's
But-
one, it's one of those family movies that you're like, it's not great, but it's
So, Leon, have you seen Home?
Nope.
Okay, so Jay, before I go into a description of what the Gorg are, what is your impression of their warfighting abilities?
well, I have a fandom.com article about them.
Okay,
Shall I share that with everybody?
go ahead and read.
Go for it.
Okay. So this one is mainly on the commander, but the Gorg is an alien species that appeared as the central antagonist of the 2015 DreamWorks film Home. He is named the Gorg Commander. He is ruthless, vile, dangerous, savage, evil, feral, and bad. He is Smek's former leader and boss.
I don't remember that.
I think that ties into the TV show that they had on Netflix for a while.
Oh yeah, they did. Okay, so the history of this. So the premise of Home is the Boov, who are a really weird meek-like alien species, run to Earth, getting away from the Gorg, and they have been running away from the Gorg forever. And the Gorg have a giant ship that has destroyed planets. And when it finally gets to the Earth, it starts chewing away at the ground and just fucking shit up. And yes, this is a family cartoon. In the end, what it turns out is that the reason that the Gorg was chasing after the Boov is because the Boov had stolen a rock from them. During a little peace treaty, the Boov got scaredy pants, hit the Gorg in the face, grabbed a rock, ran away. That rock was now on the leader of the Boov's staff. That rock had the entire next generation of the Gorg in it. And the ship that had been destroying planets and chasing them for years had one dude. All he was trying to do is get his kids back.
It sounds rather justified there.
One creature chased an entire species from planet to planet to planet.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you look at what V'ger did, and that was just one AI probe manufactured to get one piece of technology back to its home so it can complete its programming, and look at all the havoc it wreaked.
Yeah. See, the downfall of the Gorg is that it is not a warlike species. You would have to convince the Gorg that it was doing the right thing to destroy planets. Because as soon as it got its kids back, it went along on its happy way.
Yeah.
But it fucked shit up on the way.
See,
So,
and that
moving for next week.
and yeah, maybe. And looking at it, you gotta. That's where the psychology of the combatants comes into mind too, because you're gonna have combatants or factions that, while capable, are not gonna want to fight as initially because, well, it's not my fight. Why would I want to? Now, someone did bring up the replicators from Stargate, but also the Ori. I'm not sure. Both of them would be formidable in the outset, but I don't see either of them having staying power.
They make pills for that now.
But would they help them? Because the Ori, once they were shown that... Now, granted, this is going into the movie, not the actual series, because they didn't get to finish the story arc in the series before SG-1 got ended as a show. You have that bit where once it was shown that their way was not what it was portrayed to be, once they got shown for being the religious liars that they were, the Ori lost their power. So while they are rather OP when they have the believers, they, when challenged, it folded. Now, that does bring into question things with the Chaos Gods. Same thing. The more belief that there is in them, the stronger they get. However, they don't need belief because they feed off and are actually enhanced even just by simple human emotion and emotions from other sentient species as well. This is where Slaanesh became a thing because a group of Eldar quite literally murder fucked Slaanesh into existence.
Is that a specific kind of channel on Pornhub? I don't think I've found that one yet.
You're not going to find it on Pornhub because Pornhub don't like blood play.
Cornhub.
Yes, Cornhub you would have a better chance of finding it on.
I think Nick is trying to tell us a message there, Jared.
Nikki, what are you really trying to say?
I don't think it's quite coming through, Nikki.
Before we get to Nikki, we need to discuss Icarus's He-Man reference too, you know. Because they're talking, Roden No Last Name was talking about, I'm assuming, the cartoon reboot.
It's been a while since I've watched anything He-Man.
I have the entire series on DVD if you...
Oh, nice.
Of the original, anyways. We won't talk about the new one that's coming out by Kevin Smith.
I had not heard that. Do tell.
Oh, okay. So Kevin Smith has come out and said, "Oh, I was never really a He-Man fan growing up."
But
and then a few weeks later, it's like, "Oh, hey, I love He-Man. I'm doing this whole new animated show on it." It's like, and it. Well, the thing is it basically starts out where there's no He-Man at all. Period. It's after the original series. And it's Talia trying to find He-Man. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to think about that. Find the Thundar the Barbarian opening. You might have... Well... Actually, because I don't want to deal with the freaking copyright claim next week, I'm not going to show it on the panel in the between show portion of things. Stoof and things. And yes, that was a $5 super chat from Rodent No Last Name. But I am unfamiliar with the Reapers from... What was it? Mass Effect?
Firefly.
Well, no, I mentioned the Reavers.
Yep.
We're talking about the Reavers now. We can't talk about the Reapers.
Yeah, she's talking Reavers or Reapers?
Now, we're talking about the Reavers, not the fucking Reapers. 3 choices. Red, blue, or green. We're not talking about them. Fuck them. We're going to talk about the Reavers instead.
Yeah.
Because they have cool ships with bodies on them.
That they do.
Adorned well.
And that's where I say the Reavers would have a chance to survive because, well, a chance at surviving longer than normal because Khorne would be all up on them, loving the work that they do. So would Slaanesh. And this is where that interesting play of how factions would get along other than just outright combat makes it really difficult to fully come to a consensus on where this would be, because you would have... Okay, now, do you think the Tal Shiar or the Obsidian Order or even Section 31 would stay loyal to their main factions in this sort of situation? Or would they find a way to wheel and deal for their own survival?
That depends on how sticky the battles got. I mean, I think initially most would probably stay with their faction. But who are they up against?
Though.
That's the question.
It really depends on the character in question, though. Because if you have someone like Garak, he would join them. He would definitely join their forces and do everything he can to fuck them up from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
That's
as a good son of the state would.
Yep. Because, well, he loves Cardassia. He wants Cardassia to thrive, no matter who needs to die for that to happen.
All right, so I've posted a link to the new He-Man thing with Kevin Smith from That Star Wars Girl. And it's the 3rd video of a series she did, but it kind of talks about everything. And I need to let out the roommate's dog, so I'll be back in a few minutes.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, fucking Lord Kevin Smith has lost a lot of weight.
Oh, he has. He's actually started taking better care of himself. I mean, for a while there, he only wore hockey jerseys because they were the most comfortable thing for him because of his weight and condition. Where do I want to go? This is where, and copy, and
I have another suggestion, though.
Okay.
That race that was encountered by the crew of the Enterprise and TNG, that could essentially just erase all the minds. The one, I can't remember the name of the episode, where Data was the only one actually allowed to remember what happened.
Because they couldn't knock him out.
Yes. They're not a fighting force per se, with that kind of power put to use.
Well, and that's the thing is, the psychology becomes a really tough bit, because while technologically they would be rather formidable, I don't see them sticking around in the fight. Because of the psychology. But, that would be an interesting play. So here's the thing. In this sort of situation, what would stop them from being even just a handful of them, the wrong handful, depending on your point of view, being assimilated by the Borg? Now the entirety of the Borg have that knowledge and have that information and capability.
Or do we know that they were physical beings?
At some point, they were.
Yeah, because if they aren't physical beings anymore otherwise, there's nothing there for the Borg to assimilate.
Well, I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since we've watched that episode. I'm trying to remember the details of what their actual presence and interaction, even with Data, was. Because their whole thing was being xenophobic to the point where your ship is going to stay away or we're going to destroy it. And they could. Let me go ahead and do this. Alright, there. Now that that's done. There... No matter which way you look at this, there's going to be the bloodbath. And...
As it should be.
How many of the factions have the stomach for it? Because I do think resolve and willingness to stay in the fight is going to be a big determining factor of who potentially has a chance to be, if you want to call it a victor in this case, yeah, that's about all you could call them, because there ain't gonna be much left when this battle's over.
I think if you from pretty much any Star Wars lore, there is no indication from anyone that on the God, how am I fucking drawing a blank? The New Order or the Empire. I don't see any indication that any of those don't have the resolve to go all the way.
Back to my original statement in the chat.
Hello, Nikki.
The fucking Reapers from Mass Effect.
They don't count.
Why? Because they are fucking
Because
ungodly
they
terrifying.
Because a space marine battle barge could just eradicate them.
You do realize they also assimilate species, right?
You can't assimilate something if you're fucking dead. The Space Marines launched a piece of a sun at someone.
This is true. You did have the Firehawks towing around a chunk of a star just to hurl it at a bunch of fuckers.
So when are we going to admit we're going around to our favorite sci-fi, whipping out the dick of all the big bad enemies and saying my dick's bigger than yours?
Oh, I'm not going to hide that at all.
No, you have to admit, I have been trying to give some credence that some of the good guys might have a chance, but ultimately, when it comes down to it,
I'm still adamant that humans are fucked unless they're pets.
and the Chaos Gods need us to keep their existence going because we're nice little instances of emotion and reactions for them to keep them satisfied.
I mean, shit, even in Rick and Morty, we were subjugated by our dogs as soon as we gave them enough intelligence.
Where are my balls, Summer?
Where are my balls? We're not them.
I will say
Not
this, though, too.
them.
In other sci-fi where there technically isn't any mean, nasty alien race, how about other humans?
Well, no, that
Example. What are you thinking?
Well, there's EVE Online. There's
The Expanse.
the Expanse. Although EVE Online is a lot more technologically advanced than the Expanse.
But it's still the fact that you have humanity fucking up humanity.
There
Oh,
are other
God.
creatures in the Expanse. We haven't met them yet. We did find the
Yeah.
proto-molecule, but I mean that wasn't necessarily a creature. We turned it into a creature, but there is still something else out there we haven't found.
It's creator and then the thing that destroyed the proto-molecule that destroyed itself. Blah blah blah. Yeah, trust me, I know. And we're caught up on the Expanse.
Yeah, when that happens, we are fucked.
Oh, I'm waiting to see because of the cliffhanger at the end of season 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not that far into the Expanse yet. That's why.
Get there. It's good.
Yeah,
it gets
it's
better.
good.
Oh,
It gets political.
It gets very much better.
There's really not any seasons of the Expanse that I don't think aren't good.
The first half of the first season, because
Well,
it was that slow drag up.
It's
slow
setting
world
itself
building.
up. It's setting itself up. You gotta give it time before you completely write it off. Like, I gave Discovery the entirety of the first season before I said it was absolute shit. I still gave it the time.
Hey! I'm still giving Picard the time because I just got done rewatching the first season. So
There are aspects of Picard. But there are aspects of the Tard that I find endearing.
Yes, they did a lot of fan service with characters that they referenced and characters they brought on screen.
they still killed half of them.
And ruined the others.
Yeah.
Partially.
The Petard Show.
Oh, God. Do I want to click on this? Do I want to show this before having a chance to...
No, don't even look. Just open it up. Just open it up.
It's fine.
Let's see here.
Really?
It's an actual thing. I mean...
Well, I know.
That's not the point of it being an actual thing.
Nice.
Alright,
The thing is, though, that to the left of that, on the other side of the door, is the entirety of Star Trek that you'd loved.
Yep.
Emil.
But, okay, say that we have Star Trek, or rather we have the Federation, or we have at least Star Trek in the DS9 level technology, or DS9 time-space era technology. We have that, but it's run by the Maquis, and they're allowed to just occupy anything that they want.
Ooh, that's...
I actually see that being a worse situation because the Maquis could...
Are they too warlike?
Not just too warlike. They didn't realize what they needed to do for their own survival in a timely enough fashion. Give the Federation as much shit as you want to for being ridiculously ignorant at times. The Maquis were just as bad.
Worse.
If not worse.
I'm going to say worse in a lot of aspects.
Okay, if we're going to play the game of this race, but if...
Okay,
how about...
Which Doctor Who are you going with? And
I'm not going with Doctor Who this time.
Okay.
I'm going off Doctor Who.
Wow.
This race, but if... the Klingons, but if they knew how to do resource management.
That would be a dangerous foe to go against. For a second, I was going to say, oh, here's a combination for you. The Klingon warrior caste with the Sotarans as the bureaucrats.
I got one as a single race, and it did get brought up in the chat, but I don't remember. I don't know if you guys talked about it because I was here late. Xenomorphs.
I saw that. We never talked about that.
I know though, because they do still need hosts. And if the hosts tend to, wear a big fucking helmet and blast everything xenomorph apart.
That is true. That the bane of the entire xenomorph existence is a face shield.
Is a good EV suit,
Yep.
which, sorry, even early Crusade era, Mark II, Mark III power armor of the Astartes is going to fuck up the day of the Xenomorphs.
Not saying I'm not afraid of xenomorphs. Not saying I'm not going to shit myself when I see one in a cave somewhere. But I'm also going to put my helmet on.
So while it would be an interesting fight, and it would be interesting to see what a chestburster from an Astartes would grow into, I don't see it lasting.
I think it would just turn into a regular xenomorph.
No, because keep in mind, the xenomorphs kind of took some of the genetic biodiversity from their host. We only just saw them go after humans. But imagine if they went after a transhuman.
We've seen. Haven't we seen a xenomorph predator?
Yes.
Yeah, but that's not a predator.
Fucking scary as hell. It's called a predalien.
Yeah.
Predalien.
Well, even then, they could potentially get some of the Primarch's, what's it called?
The
Some of
gene
the Primarch genetics. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the predalien was fucking intelligent as shit.
But even then, I don't think that they would be different enough that they would make much of a difference. Especially not against something like, say, 300 guardsmen with flashlights.
That's why I go back again to the fucking Reapers.
Battle Barge. They can destroy planets.
So can the Reapers.
Yeah, but here's the wee little issue. They can do it with one missile. They could take down Reapers way faster than the Reapers could try to take them down. And even then, Reapers have to get close. What do you think happens with the Reapers if you send in, say, a small squad of Space Marines and just tell them, "Oh, have fun"?
You're getting back to a semantic argument with this because that would be the same case. Oh, if you get close, if you do this, if you do that. We've seen the sci-fi. We already know what happens. Let's not argue. No, hold on. Let's not argue from that aspect that we already know what would probably happen. If these people or creatures, whatever, saw each other for the first fucking time, there is no backstory whatsoever from either ones. Look at it from that standpoint.
The Space Marines would fuck them up. Because Space Marines, when they see anything even remotely Xenos, have one, let's say, one way of operating. Yes. Let's murder the fuck out of it and let everyone else just deal with the repercussions afterwards. We don't really care that much as long as it's dead.
Okay. Fine. Human form replicators, I said it.
But even they had a fatal flaw that was easily exploited. It just took the that temple to have the apparatus that could actually propagate it throughout the.
You're talking about the same way like how the flood got destroyed twice now. So it's still that's how the Reapers got killed. You're talking about a single event, a single device that by chance had the capability of doing something that people had to eventually figure out.
The one with the replicators, it wasn't by chance. That device was specifically designed to fuck up their day. And that what's Rodent got this time? Another 5 US. The Genius, The Expanse. no clear villains. Everyone has an arguable point,
Mm-hmm.
even the proto-molecule.
He's not wrong. He's
and-
not wrong.
But it's also a fair thing for the Warhammer universe. There are no bad guys in the Warhammer universe. There are no good guys either.
Even with, if you try to compare that with like Star Trek, in Star Trek you've got the villains, because yes, it started in the 60s. You have to have villains in that time frame. That's how people watch TV and movies. The Klingons were the villains. The Cardassians are the villains. The Romulans are the villains. But in the Expanse, even the proto-molecule, yes, you could say the proto-molecule is a villain, but it's not really a villain, because a villain requires some form of intelligence and autonomy of their own. The Expanse, to me, is probably one of the most realistic views of the future from any sci-fi series ever.
Agreed.
Now, earlier, Sean Carroll said, warfare isn't about just firepower. I agree, which is why I keep going back and pointing out, there's the psychology, there's the tactics aspect that we have to keep in mind of all of this, too.
Exactly.
And that's where I say, it would be a bad day for everyone else if the Tyranids, the Flood, the Zerg, Species 8472, if those 4 factions...
Fuck!
You all right?
I'm good. Hey, even the Hubble had a repair mission. Fuck y'all.
You're just keeping it historically accurate. I get it.
Yep.
But you put those factions together, and if there is an alliance between them, which with the Zerg could happen because of the inclusion of Kerrigan, they could fuck some shit up.
I will say this. I do want to do one of these shows where I'm discussing some personal choice sci-fi.
I mean, this is personal choice one. This is quite literally a free-for-all battle
But
royale.
we're not talking. I don't want to talk about a free-for-all because there's some of these I can bring up that a lot of people will not get the reference for, including some of you as sci-fi nerds. Hashtag EVE Online as one of them.
I've played Eve for like a couple of months, an hour or two a week. I totally get it.
No. You would, but there's some deep lore to it that you wouldn't.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't get it at all. Not whatsoever.
You'd have to read the books and
so-
the short stories.
Ooh. Actually, looking back, Icarus does have another question. What about the creatures from Silence in the Library episode of Doctor Who?
The Shadow?
The Shadows.
Oh yeah,
What about the Weeping Angels?
we already discussed that.
You missed
We started
Nikki?
we started with
Nikki?
them.
I was gonna say because they're
really Nikki? Really?
yes, yes. I literally showed up late.
That was one of my first. This is my Christmas tree topper for the Weeping Angels. And yes, this goes on the top of our Christmas tree every year.
Goddamn sci-fi nerd.
You say that like you're not already
Oh,
aware
no.
of it.
No. You know, I'm not a sci-fi nerd. I'm sitting here with one EVE Online book on my floor. I've got EVE Online audiobook on my phone. And then I have played just about damn near most of the major relevant sci-fi games in a while.
You want to know what my kids got me for Father's Day last week? It was a picture of a Star Trek transporter, and it was one of those like 3D where you like move a little bit and people disappear and reappear. Yeah, that's what I got for Father's Day.
So Icarus has an honorable mention. The toasters, Xylons.
Ah,
Toasters is accurate.
Hey, leave my toaster alone.
Is it the brave little toaster though?
No, but the brave little toaster is a wonderful bit of mythology and lore told to this day by the Mechanicus.
Is the brave little toaster kind of like the penis that could?
Only on Saturdays. Wait, this is Saturday.
Well, it's Saturday for us here in
American land.
well, the normal side of the world. Australia, it's already Sunday, so.
All right, there's part 1 for the project complete.
Hey.
Only 2,000 more pieces to go.
2,300 and...
2,354 total.
So if you drop or blow up the Lego space shuttle, is that going to be another historically accurate thing too?
Really had to go there, didn't you? It depends on how it goes down.
Is it when he's putting it up on the
basis?
mantle, or is it as he's bringing it down off the mantle? That's the question.
Yep. Now, I do have the ISS up on my mantle as well, and that thing's so goddamn rickety, I'm afraid to look at it or it'll fall apart.
Oh, yeah, you sneeze near that thing, and it breaks. And that's because they kept the dimensions to scale, but the problem is a lot of those connection points are single square connections.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
Why does it look like a bastardized version of the AT-AT?
Because of the stand.
Downstairs. Yeah. The AT-AT needs to be repaired, but here's a little preview of all of my Lego.
Jesus Christ! You got a separated Saturn V.
Hey,
Saturn?
that is a great way to display it because it actually shows the detail and everything that went into it. I'm just surprised you don't have the command module separated.
Well, so I can't. My camera's not going far enough, but this does come apart, and you can put the lamb inside here, and that does completely come off.
Yeah, I'm just saying I'm surprised you don't have it set up that way.
So then I got the ISS, and then I've got my Millennium Falcon.
Lambda shuttle.
Yeah.
A-wing. X-wing, Poe Dameron version.
Yep.
Razorback. And
Razor Crest.
Or Razor Crest, excuse me.
Razor Crest.
And Corvette.
Is that the Tanta 5?
It's the Tanta 5. Then down here we've got random boats. Simpson House. Anybody know what that is?
Now off the top of my head.
I can't.
Your camera sucks.
It's the Upside Down. Stranger Things.
Ah.
And then that's from it's the living room from Big Bang. The living room from Friends. And other random stuff. And then over there, Harry Potter stuff. And there's even more out in my living room.
I am not surprised. Okay, so Rodent has a good question. How are the Spielberg ETs defeated?
Ooh.
With a rotary...
Reese's Pieces.
Hang on. No. With a rotary dial telephone.
Oh. The piece of technology you actually had to have proper skill to operate effectively.
I mean, E.T. was great with digital stuff, but you give him something analog.
So, I'm probably the oldest here. Did anybody grow up in a town that didn't have touch-tone service?
Yes.
Grew up in, no. Visited a couple times, yes.
What was great is, even when you didn't have said rotary phone and you had a touch-tone phone, but it still made all of the beeps,
The pulses.
for a rotary. So you could sit there and go, and then you hear da 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 da, and like a half hour later it finished because it had to make all of the fucking tones for a touch tone. or for a rotary. Yeah, that was my
Oh.
hometown until I was like 12.
I used to go to my friend's house and I'd switch their touchstone to pulse because it's still in the touchstone service we
It
had.
would work.
It would work. And they'd be like, what's going on here? It took them all about 15 years to realize it was me.
Yeah.
Because I went to my best friend's parents' house down in California just before his wedding.
You did it there too, huh?
Oh, I did. It only took them till then to figure out, wait, you've been the one doing this? Well, yeah, I've been gone for, how long? Like, at that point, it was what, 2007? So I've been out of their house since 2001. So 6 years of them not having that happen.
All right.
Okay, so Sean Carroll is trying to come up with a mixed team to come up with as like the Uber team. And so far, for a sniper / scout, he's looking at a ghost, like the pre-Zerg Kerrigan. And you'd also want a Primarch, just doesn't know which one.
I think we all know which one.
Dorn is right in the correct circumstances. Otherwise, I'm sorry, you're probably going to have to go with Sanguinius.
Sanguinius?
Yeah. Because you want someone who is actually quite capable in a fight, but also not hyper-focused on fortifying every goddamn position he gets.
But fortifying is important.
Oh, Icarus doesn't know what a Primarch is.
I'm not going to admit it either, but I didn't admit that.
Ooh,
But for
we never
everybody-
did discuss Transformers, did we?
But for everybody else that doesn't know, could you please describe?
Alright, so you know how badass people talk about the Space Marines from Warhammer?
I do from tonight's conversation.
Ratchet up a couple notches, because the Primarchs are quite literally the gene fathers of the Space Marines. They're basically Emperor Light. Like, you have the Emperor at the top, and then like a half step down to his 20 sons, sorry, his 18 sons. Well, possibly 19. And then you have all of the actual Space Marines below that. Oh,
Yeah,
God. Go ahead.
No, just if you look at it, Anastartes is, how is he? 7 foot plus tall.
I'm sorry, I just saw one of the things in chat.
We'll get to that in a second.
But most of the Primarchs are, well, a good head or more above that. Let's talk about Vulcan being 12 feet tall.
Can we not talk about the Vogons?
I had been thinking that earlier as well, or other different incarnations of the Hitchhiker's Guide. The Vogons may win the war through red tape.
Exactly. So that's where I say it's not just about the warfare. There are other aspects to consider. Now,
wait,
hang on.
Here's let me stipulate. So, there's two scenarios for the Vogons going to war. If it is an all-out war, step one, fuck you, start killing each other, the Vogons lose. If it is an all-out war with pre-agreed
with the logistics and politics,
just any pre-agreed rules, if you sit down with them to converse over the war first and you put it on paper, you're fucked.
now imagine what good old Zinch, the chaos god of manipulation and change and plans and changing of plans. Think about what he would do by saying, oh, Vogons, you need a little protection? Here, have a couple legions of Chaos Marines. Yeah, that could get rather dicey there for people. Because not only would they be having to deal with essentially a mercenary force amongst all of this, you would then give them the bureaucratic and logistical backing of the Vogons.
Yeah, I love Dora's comment. It's a bureaucratic victory. And all I can think of is guys sitting down at the negotiation table at the end of the war going, fine, I fucking quit. Fine.
Although the Vogons do have the ultimate weapon and trump card against a vast number of potential factions they'd be going against.
What would that be?
Poetry?
The poetry.
Oh, God. Oh yeah, that is the ultimate weapon. It is.
But, you know, people want to talk about the comic book universe's crossover events. Just imagine the massive crossover event that could happen in sci-fi if all the barriers between all these parallel universes of franchises were all of a sudden gone.
Hey, I got one more, and this one might be a bit controversial. The Yuuzhan Vong from Legends.
They still got kind of fucked up, though.
The Yuuzhan Vong would definitely create an impact on their arrival into the battlefield area. I don't see them having a long survival time frame, though. And that's the thing, is you have a lot of these factions that really would last what would amount to be only a couple of days, if not only a matter of hours.
I agree. But at least the reason why I bring them up is because their technology is very, very unique. I mean, it's still bioengineered weapons, but it's uniquely bioengineered. And they can do everything that any other species can, but with biology.
Yeah, which the Tyranids, except the Tyranids are one bioform, one hive mind, whereas the Yuuzhan Vong do have that bit of sentient individuality to them as well. Icarus just asked a question that I'm not sure if we
I haven't watched
really...
it.
Yeah.
Haven't watched.
Haven't watched. I can. I just haven't watched it right now.
I haven't watched it either. Not again. Just haven't had a time to watch it yet.
It's not that. I'm waiting for the episodes to build up to where I can start binging it.
Exactly.
Well, and here's the thing. I've not watched it, but I've watched some reviews already, and it's not good.
I've heard mixed.
Well, a lot of the reviews that I've heard are really ripping on the pacing, and ultimately it came down to one question for one of the reviewers. Why is the show even named Loki? Why is he even there? To this point in the series, he's just there.
Is he not the main character? I mean, is he not being actively the main character?
He's not being utilized the way you would a main character.
Are they setting it up for later on, or are they just using the name for clickbait?
The read that I've gotten from a couple of the reviewers is that it is more of the clickbaity type where they initially wanted to make a series about Loki, but it has gotten to be too politicized like a lot of media has the last couple years.
So in other words, Disney's fucking up Loki now too.
Uh-huh.
I wouldn't so much say it's Disney as it is the showrunners that Disney hires to do it. I mean, yes,
Well,
it ultimately falls on
Disney.
Disney.
It's Disney fucking hiring them.
I understand that, and that's what I was going to say. Is I understand it's Disney hiring them, but at the same time, you have to credit the showrunners, or
criticize them as appropriate.
I mean, we did bitch about the BBC fucking up the first season of the new Doctor Who because it got too goddamn political. We've bitched at the showrunners.
It's gotten better.
I haven't watched anything recent, but I know the first season. All in all, I did generally enjoy the episodes, but every single episode was smashing you in the face with a message.
That the decline of Doctor Who, I would even say, started after season 2 of Capaldi.
The messages got strong. The messages are important, especially for a show that is that big. Because if you can reach an audience that is that big, yes, I do believe it is your responsibility to try and convey a message. Not your responsibility. It's not wrong for you to try and convey a message if you have a megaphone that is that big. But you can't smash people in the face with it every single week. You've got to be smarter than that.
Hang on, this might have me a little curious. I think we should pick up in the next show here in about, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes, because a little bit of food would be nice. But wrote no last name said, sorry, I had to dip out. The Iceland volcano is going, well, volcano. So
Again?
So we have that going on, and isn't the Gulf of Mexico on fire?
Not anymore. I mean, it was, yes. Not at this current moment.
Okay. Okay, who the hell decided to pick slow mode for the exterminatus of the planet?
I believe that was whoever invented Earth version or Earth Life version 6.1.7.
Yeah, it's whoever the fuck picked up Jumanji and decided to start playing.
Oh god, and they put it away for a while and just started picking it up again.
Yeah.
Is there a way to have an army face a concept?
Such as?
I doubt that any army in sci-fi could win against human stupidity.
I would have to agree with that
Yeah.
one.
Yep. I think Leon has won the internet today.
Well, our best warriors are, Riley and Jason. So, I mean...
Oh, God.
If we're going in that realm,
I would just
Is
have
Riley
the
still
broadcast.
alive?
Yes, unfortunately. He hasn't figured out how to stick the fork in the outlet yet.
He just does not believe in
I think I broke
electricity
Jared.
I really do not wish bodily harm on any of these idiots. But nothing would surprise me at this point from any of them.
I don't want anyone's existence to end. I don't. I do not wish ill on anyone. But there is a certain group of individuals that if I were told that they decided it was smart to eat a, chicken salad sandwich from a gas station that expired 6 years ago, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not going to hand them the sandwich. But when they eat it, I won't hand it to them. I may put it in the cooler.
You may be the one to ring them up at the register. Is that what you're telling me?
I might, yeah. You sure you want to buy this? Yeah. Okay.
Just make sure they're not wearing an overly large cowboy hat.
But knowing our luck, they would probably end up having the luck of Philip J. Fry and his truck stop sandwich.
Oh, no. Don't go there. No.
I've got food on the way. Please don't.
But would that actually be a bad thing? Because if you actually granted either of these two individuals real intelligence, because, I mean, you got to admit, Philip was a moron. And the only reason he was still alive was lack of someone else. Yeah, lack of someone else pushing him off a cliff. And once he ate the sandwich, he did get intelligent. What do you think would happen if these individuals ate the sandwich?
See, I think it would be funny to find out and see how many of them would actually have the integrity to say, "Oh shit, I'm sorry, guys.
This isn't me."
Yeah, I was so wrong about this stuff, and have that actual moment of clarity. I wonder how many of them would actually do that, because that would actually show their true nature and their personality, and whether or not they are actually reasonable enough to continue being, well, anything. Oh. Hey, volcano's starting to erupt. What are we going to do? Put a camera.
It's been erupting for 3 months.
How far? As close as you can get. What?
It's been erupting for 3 months now.
I thought you were supposed to go see a doctor after 4 hours.
Well, the stream did start 8 hours ago. So maybe you need to go see 2 doctors, one for each 4-hour period.
Sorry, Icarus, when I read that comment of yours, I heard Paris Hilton's voice in my head.
No judgment. None. Totally judging.
No, when you hear the words "so hot,"
So hot.
Admit it. When you read those 2 words together like that, that is the voice that comes to mind.
Hey, Jared, look at the start of this stream.
Oh, god damn.
There's people walking in front of the camera!
It's fine.
Okay, you know what? It's Iceland. Why are we fucking worried about it?
It's only being split apart from the middle.
Like it has been for how long?
No. Hey, as long as Reykjavik's okay, which is the only city in Iceland that's important, it'd be okay.
Yeah, the problem, though, is that when shit fucks up in Iceland, it stops all air travel from Europe. Trust me, it prevented a PCS for me once.
You say that like it's a bad thing right now.
It prevented a PCS for me once.
You're not worried about that right now, are you?
I'm not, no.
Yeah, but he might get extended if somebody else is stuck.
I'm here for a long time. I'm here until the army pisses me off or I piss them off. Both are very very likely in the near future.
All right. Oh, with that, we are going to take a break for a bit. We are going to go to the off-air portion, and we will see you all live in about 40 minutes, which, we could have a lot of fun in 40 minutes. 10 times over.
I'll put my pants back on.
No. How dare you even consider such a thing?